The problem is what you do to protect that region. So that was a long answer, but yeah, it's important, but I don't, I'm not directly involved in most of that stuff. In the back, and then you.
Chair. Thank you. In your opening remarks, you referenced that if we took the state of Delaware, the amount of wetlands we brought, and wrapped it around the city, we wouldn't need levees. And that seems to be a battle that we're fighting now, not so much a battle, but an argument over the value of levees versus restoring wetlands. In the Great Flood, you wrote and talked about the arguments there were between the levee builders and the people who wanted to not so much tame the river as manage it through impoundment areas where you trap water and spillways. And it seems we're sort of fighting the same battle today between the people who want to pile things up versus those who want to try and do something that seems more in tune with what.
Yeah.
Are there any lessons in the 20s and 30s that we should have in mind now as we look at whether to build higher levees, whether to focus on wetlands, or how the two work together?
Well, actually, the chief lesson is a political one. It's not exactly what you were talking about. In 1928, Congress passed the most expensive bill it had ever passed in its history, and that was to protect the lower Mississippi Valley from floods. And it was more expensive than anything the federal government had ever done except build World War II, except fight World War I, rather. World War I. Fight it, not build it. And Calvin Coolidge was president. He didn't want to spend a penny. And like you all may know Randy Newman's song, you all probably do. President Coolidge come down a railroad. President Coolidge never come down in no railroad train. He didn't come down here. He didn't give a shit. You know, Republican governors, Democratic governors, they all begged Coolidge to come down and visit the flooded area. There were almost 1 million Americans, almost 1% of the entire population of the United States. There were probably actually over 1 million Americans. 1% the entire population flooded, devastated through no fault of their own. And the President of the United States would not come down and visit any of that area. Yeah. Herbert Hoover, however, got here in 1927 faster than Mike Brown did. Hoover was Secretary of Commerce. They put him in charge. I don't know how many of you read the book, so I don't want to get into this in detail. But Coolidge wouldn't even allow, he refused to autograph a picture to be auctioned off at a fundraiser for victims. He didn't give a shit. Whether it was because Vermont lost more people per capita in the Civil War than any place in any other state, and we were in Louisiana, Mississippi, and Arkansas were the states most devastated. I don't know why. Was it, but he didn't care. So the biggest political lesson was, how did they manage to get this revolutionary law that redefined the relationship between the federal and state governments, and for the first time in American history, the federal government accepted some responsibility for individual people who were, devastated through no fault of their own. This was the biggest change politically that came. That was an incredible change in the way Americans viewed the role of government. But how did you do that politically? And what these areas did was they had a map of the Mississippi River Basin, a map that I tried to get the publisher to put in the book, but they said, well, it didn't lay out right. And it really ticked me off. But something called the Mississippi Valley Flood Control Association developed this map. It just showed the entire river system of the Mississippi. And you just look at that map and you think, holy shit, this really is the whole country. And you show that map around the Congress, and it says, this water came from Olean, New York, that flooded me. So I'm asking for your help, and it's your water. And we have not really done that politically. I don't think we've been nearly as effective in making our case as we could have been. So, you know, that wasn't really the thrust of your question, but I thought the need to address that. And in doing so, I've forgotten the rest of your question. So why don't you repeat it?
Well, were there any lessons from the arguments between those political levies?
Okay, yeah. Yeah, no, I don't believe there's anybody in Louisiana who doesn't recognize the importance of Barrier Island. Well, Barrier Island, where did it get its name? Everybody recognizes the importance. The question is that there are people with 0-year flood protection, don't have any protection at all, and they want levees to give them some protection to our west. And there is some concern that these levees will be counterproductive or that they'll lead to development, which puts more people at risk and so forth and so on. And the CPRA and the Southeast Louisiana Flood Protection Authority East, i.e. the levee board, does have a seat on the CPRA. I hold that seat, but it's not because of me, it's just because I'm on the levee board. As do other levee boards, and it's dominated by this, the state, however. So the governor has the votes. But the CPRA is very, very alert to this question. And I have often said the political problem is more difficult and complicated than the technical problem. And believe me, the technical problem is not easy. And what you're asking about, it hasn't yet really been a fight, but it's going to start being a fight. I think it will be possible, but I may be overly optimistic. I don't know if you know Ollie Houck, Tulane, active environment, and sort of created almost the entire field of environmental law. Or not single-handed, but a major player, a pioneer in that area. He's extremely informed. In fact, I'm sure he's written stuff. I know he's written a lot on this. It's probably available online. He's extremely concerned that any levee system built will only encourage development behind it. And it's a real problem. But I think we probably could build some levees and make sure that that doesn't happen. Although it would be a fight on a daily basis